Picture this, it's in 1973, bell-bottoms disco, all the rage. And this young woman, Deborah Espie, she's starting college
Ah, yeah.
in this town called Niceville, Florida.
Ironically.
Right. You'd think Niceville, like nothing bad could happen.
Yeah,
But life, as we know, can take a dark turn,
absolutely.
even in a place called Niceville.
Especially in a place called Niceville.
Yeah, so Deborah's story, it's really a stark reminder of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're going to delve into this case today, a cold case that's been haunting investigators and the community for over 50 years.
Yeah, it really is it's a case where you have that idyllic facade of a small town that gets shattered by this chilling disappearance and a brutal murder. And what's really, I think, fascinating about this case is this web of unanswered questions, this lingering suspicion, and the possibility that a killer may have walked free.
Yeah, and we have so much to go through today. We have witness accounts, police reports, and even whispers of a possible Ted Bundy confession,
Oh, wow.
which we'll get to later.
That's
Okay,
great.
so much to unpack. So let's just start at the beginning.
Okay.
It's March 12th, 1973. A seemingly ordinary day. Deborah's father drops her off at Okaloosa Walton Junior College for her morning classes.
Right?
Nothing seems out of the ordinary.
Yeah, just a typical day in life of a college student. But the thing is, this is the last time Deborah's family will ever see her.
Right.
You know, drop your daughter off at college expecting her to be safe, to learn and grow, and then she simply vanishes.
I can't even imagine.
Parents' worst nightmare.
Yeah. And to add to this mystery, her brother Wayne, also a student at the college, he sees her after her first class that morning.
Okay.
And she asks me for a ride home, and he says, yeah, I'll be back in 20 minutes. Seems straightforward, right?
Yeah.
But when Wayne returns, Deborah is nowhere to be found.
Wow.
These 20 minutes become the epicenter of the investigation.
Yeah, where did she go? Who did she see? What happened in that short window of time?
Well, the early investigation reveals some puzzling details.
Okay.
Police confirm that Deborah attended her 8 a.m. class, but she never made it to her next one. And there are witness accounts placing her on and off campus throughout the day.
Okay.
Some people saw her walking alone, while others claim she was with a man. It's just a jumbled mess of information, making it really hard to piece together a clear timeline.
Yeah, you have these fragmented glimpses of Deborah's movements, but no clear picture of her whereabouts or intentions.
Right.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing.
Right. And then there's this added complication of a potential suspect.
Okay.
A night custodian at the college reports seeing Deborah around 5:00 p.m. that day.
Mm-hmm.
And this time she's in a green car with a male classmate.
Okay.
His name is Donald.
Donald.
And it turns out they both attended the same karate dojo.
Interesting. Okay.
So now this seemingly insignificant detail puts Donald in the spotlight.
Right.
Was he just a friend giving Deborah a ride? Or is there something more sinister going on?
Yeah.
Investigators start digging into Donald's background, trying to understand his relationship with Deborah.
Right.
A month goes by, and the case takes a grim turn.
Okay.
An Air Force captain out for a motorcycle ride off Rocky Bayou Road stumbles upon a horrifying sight, a human leg protruding from the ground.
Oh my gosh.
The body is partially buried, and there's evidence of a struggle, a desperate attempt to escape.
Wow, imagine the shock of that discovery.
Yeah.
That even in seemingly peaceful places like Niceville, darkness can lurk.
Right.
But for investigators, this discovery is a potential breakthrough.
Yeah.
But it also brings, a wave of sorrow and a renewed sense of urgency.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. And the body is identified as Deborah through dental records, a devastating confirmation for her family. And the autopsy reveals that she died from blunt force trauma to the head, just a brutal end to a young life.
Terrible.
So now with this new information, investigators bring Donald in for further questioning.
Okay, so this is where the case really starts to heat up.
Okay.
Remember, Donald initially claimed he barely knew Deborah.
Right.
But during this interrogation, his story starts to unravel.
Uh-oh.
He offers contradictory statements, his alibi falls apart, and he even fails a polygraph test.
It's like he's trying to cover something up. But the more he talks, the more suspicious he becomes.
Exactly.
And here's where it gets even more unsettling.
Okay.
Donald, despite failing the polygraph, offers a detailed theory about how Deborah might have died.
Oh, wow.
And what's chilling is that his theory aligns eerily well with her injuries.
It's a classic case of a suspect inadvertently revealing more than they intended.
Right.
Donald's attempt to insert himself into the narrative to explain away the evidence only raises more red flags for investigators.
It's a troubling development, and it begs the question, did Donald know more than he was letting on? Was he involved in Deborah's disappearance?
Yeah.
It's a chilling thought, isn't it, to have that kind of knowledge about a crime scene?
Yeah, and what's even more intriguing is that just a few months after Deborah's body is found, another young woman, Teresa Dusevich, is found murdered.
Oh, no.
And guess what? She's discovered just a few miles from where Deborah was found.
Okay, so now we have two young women, both tragically murdered, both found in shallow graves, and their bodies discovered within close proximity to each other.
Right.
Did the police ever make a connection between these two cases?
Well, that's the question that's haunted investigators for years. While Donald was never officially named a suspect in Teresa's case, the similarities are just too striking to ignore.
Yeah.
Both women were young, both found in similar circumstances, and there are indications that both attacks may have been sexually motivated. It really raises the specter of a possible serial killer operating in the area.
And to add to the community's fear, there were other attacks on young women in the area around the same time.
Right. A 15-year-old girl was shot while hitchhiking, and another 19-year-old Lynn Pat was found drowned on a secluded beach with signs of attempted sexual assault and, again, blunt force trauma.
It's a terrifying pattern.
Yeah, it's a pattern that sent shockwaves through the community. Imagine living in a town where young women are being targeted, where danger seems to lurk around every corner.
Right? It must have been a time of immense anxiety and uncertainty for everyone.
Absolutely.
And then years later, there's this bizarre twist in Deborah's case.
Okay.
Her mother receives a visit from someone claiming to be a police officer, and the supposed officer tells her that Ted Bundy, the infamous serial killer, confessed to Deborah's murder before his execution.
Wow, what?
I know it's a shocking revelation,
Yeah,
but one that ultimately proves to be false.
right.
The police deny any such confession ever took place. It seems to be a cruel hoax, a fabrication that added unnecessary pain to Deborah's family's grief.
Oh, it's awful.
It's a reminder of how misinformation and rumors can swirl around these high-profile cases, especially in the age of true crime obsession.
Right.
But even with that false lead debunked it, Deborah's case continued to haunt investigators.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to 2016, when investigator Kelly Henderson takes over the case.
Okay.
She's determined to uncover the truth, to finally bring some closure to Deborah's family. She digs through the old evidence, re-interviews witnesses, and even travels to Alabama to confront Donald at his home.
Wow, that's dedication.
It takes a certain kind of dedication to take on a cold case like this, to revisit a tragedy that's decades old, and trying to piece together a puzzle that's missing so many pieces. What did she learn from Donald?
Well, her conversations with Donald only deepened the mystery. His stories about his relationship with Deborah were inconsistent, constantly changing.
Really?
He admitted to intentionally manipulating the polygraph test back in 1973,
Wow.
but refused to take another one.
It's like he was playing a game of cat and mouse with the investigators,
Right.
revealing just enough to keep them interested, but never enough to incriminate himself.
Exactly. You can sense that he knew more than he was letting on, but without concrete evidence, it was difficult to break through his wall of evasion.
And tragically, before investigator Henderson could get any closer to the truth, Donald dies in a car accident.
Oh, wow, what a twist of fate. Just when it seemed like they might be on the verge of a breakthrough, the case takes another unexpected turn.
And they did manage to obtain his DNA from the car accident. But the evidence from Deborah's case was so degraded that it provided no conclusive answers.
It really highlights the challenges of cold cases, time is the enemy, and often crucial evidence is lost or becomes unusable over the years.
So with Donald gone and the DNA evidence inconclusive, are we left with more questions than answers? Did Donald have something to do with Deborah's murder, or was he just a troubled individual who got caught up in a tragic situation? Yeah, it's frustrating to be so close and then just have it slip away. But even though Donald is gone, the case remains open, right?
That's right. Investigators are still hoping that someone out there might have, a piece of the puzzle, a memory, a detail that they didn't think was important at the time.
Right.
Sometimes it's the smallest thing that can crack a case wide open.
It really makes you wonder if anyone listening right now might know something, even if they don't realize it. What is a seemingly insignificant detail from their past could help bring closure to Deborah's family after all these years?
That's why it's so crucial to keep these stories alive, to remind people that even cold cases can be solved.
Yeah.
And Deborah's case and those of Teresa and the other women, they really serve as a reminder that there are families out there who are still searching for answers, yearning for justice.
It's a heavy thought, but it's the reality of these cases. These weren't just names in a police report.
Right.
They were daughters, sisters, friends.
Mm-hmm.
Their lives cut short by senseless violence.
And that's why we do what we do, why
Mhm.
we delve into these mysteries. It's not just about piecing together a puzzle, it's about honoring the victims,
Yeah.
giving them a voice, and reminding the world that they haven't been forgotten.
We can't let the passage of time, diminish the importance of seeking justice. Deborah's story and the stories of all those who have been lost to violence, they deserve to be heard, and their families deserve answers.
Absolutely. And sometimes simply shining a light on these cold cases can be the catalyst for new leads and renewed hope.
So if you were out there listening and you think you might have any information, no matter how small, about Deborah's case or any of the other unsolved cases that we discussed today, please do not hesitate to contact the authorities.
Please.
Your call could be the key to bringing peace to a family that has been waiting for justice for far too long.
That's right.
If you found this deep dive as compelling as we did, be sure to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more in-depth investigations. We'll keep exploring these mysteries, seeking the truth, and reminding the world that even in the face of tragedy, hope for justice never fades.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.